This is my house now.
Stop this nonsense.
It's mine! Get out, or I'll finish this fence!
The lake house rebellion. I stood on the porch of my lake house, the wood creaking under my boots, staring at a woman hauling boxes into my home. The late afternoon sun glinted off Lakeview Pine's shimmering waters, but my chest tightened with disbelief. She turned, wiping her hands on her jeans, and gave me a look like I was the one trespassing. "You must be Tom," she said, all casual. "Linda told me you moved out last week." She gave me the keys. "I'm her cousin, Brenda." "Moved out?" I repeated, my voice low and sharp. "This is my property." Brenda laughed, short and dismissive, like I'd told a bad joke. No. Linda said this land's HOA common space is now. The board voted to reassign the house. I signed the lease yesterday. I stepped off the porch, my boots crunching gravel as I marched toward the door. The fresh blue paint, the wind chimes I'd hung with my late wife, Sarah, the rocking chairs now replaced with cheap plastic once it was all wrong. This lake house was our sanctuary, built board by board, every nail driven with love, every flower bed a memory of her laughter. Now, a stranger Linda's cousin was moving in like she owned it. "I never signed anything," I said, fists clenched. "This house was here before the HOA existed." Brenda shrugged, unfazed. "Linda said you were difficult. The board has legal authority. Look, I've got my kids here. We drove 10 hours from Alabama. I don't want trouble." That's when I saw two kids bouncing on my dock, their shouts echoing across the lake. My blood ran cold. "Get out of my house," I said, voice shaking. Brenda rolled her eyes. "Call the HOA or a lawyer. I've already unpacked." I stormed to my truck, hands trembling as I yanked open the glove box, pulling out the deed, the land office letterproof this was mine. But as I stood there, staring at Brenda unloading her life into my memories, I realized my lake house had been stolen in broad daylight. And it was about to get worse. I've lived in Lakeview Pines, a quiet community nestled around a man-made lake in northern Georgia, for 16 years. I bought this lake house after Sarah passed, a place to heal, to rebuild. Mornings by the water, sanding furniture in the garage. Evenings by the fire with only crickets and the soft rustle of pine sit was my peace. The HOA used to be a sleepy group, meeting every few months to bicker about garbage pickup or hedge trimming. That changed 3 years ago when Linda Carver moved in. Linda was all polished, perfect smile, perfect hair, perfect SUV parked at a perfect angle. But you could feel her hunger for control, like a hawk circling prey. She ran unopposed for HOA president, and nobody cared enough to challenge her. At first, she was just a nuisance, fining people for overgrown lawns, banning birdhouses, and citing folks for leaving kayaks docked too long. Then she got bold. She rewrote the HOA charter without votes, blocked homeowners from meetings, and pushed a common use land initiative, claiming control over any lot within 500 feet of the lake. That's when she set her sights on my lake house. I didn't take it seriously at first. I had the deed, county records, everything proving my lot was mine. But Linda twisted the bylaws, claiming my lakefront property wasn't exempt from HOA jurisdiction. She called me to a meeting with her cronies Ed from Lot 12 and Nancy from Lot 5 smirking as they suggested my land be repurposed for community use. They even offered a relocation stipend if I'd cooperate. I walked out. Then the harassment started. My HOA newsletters stopped coming. My mailbox was smashed. The post snapped like kindling. A week later, a note appeared on my door. Unauthorized private structure on HOA land, subject to removal. I knew it was Linda. I took the note to her pristine colonial house up the hill. She opened the door halfway, leaning against the frame like I was selling vacuums. "This was on my door," I said, holding up the note. Her smile was cold. "Standard notice, Tom. Just HOA business." "This lake house is mine," I snapped. "I've got the deed, county records." She tilted her head, voice dripping with fake sweetness. "There are disputes, Tom. Conflicting maps. It's better if we keep the peace. You're retired, right? Maybe a fresh start somewhere quiet would suit you." I stared her down. "I'm not going anywhere." She nodded, like she was filing that away, and I didn't hear from her for months. Until Brenda showed up, tossing my photo frames into boxes, claiming a lease signed by Linda. I stood in my driveway, watching Brenda's family unload more luggage, more life, into my home. I couldn't argue with Linda. She played dirty, behind closed doors. The HOA was her puppet show. The sheriff would call it a civil matter. I didn't have money for lawyers, but I had something else: grit. I spent that day driving not to the sheriff, but to the county recorder, the zoning office, the archives. In a dusty 1982 document, signed by a man named Walter Hayes and witnessed by a surveyor, I found it: a private land trust predating the HOA, with a privacy clause. My lake house wasn't under their control. Linda had missed it. I knew what I had to do. Something that would make the whole HOA choke on their own rules. I loaded my truck at Mike's Hardware, 3 rolls of barbed wire, 6 concrete posts, enough cedar to make the town talk. Mike didn't ask questions. He just gave me a nod. Linda again. I grunted. She crossed a line. He clapped my shoulder. Build what you need, Tom. Just don't get arrested. Back at the lake house, Brenda was sunbathing on my porch, sipping iced tea like she was on vacation. Her kids tore up my driveway on bikes, hollering loud enough to scare the birds. I drove past, acting like I was on a routine errand. They didn't notice. I waited until dusk, when the lake glowed gold, and marked my landward flags tucked between shrubs, behind rocks. I knew every inch of this place. At dawn, I started digging. The ground was stubborn, but I used Sarah's old shovel, her initials carved in the handle. Every jab into the dirt felt like reclaiming a piece of us. Brenda stumbled out mid-morning, coffee mug in hand, squinting. "What are you doing?" "Fencing," I said, not looking up. "Fencing what?" "My land." She laughed. "Now? You don't even live here anymore." I stood, meeting her eyes. "I never moved out, Brenda. You moved in." She shook her head, muttering about calling Linda, and stormed inside. By sunset, the posts were set, and concrete poured under a flashlight. My hands were blistered, my shirt soaked, but I didn't stop. Brenda was on the phone, yelling to Linda that I'd lost it, building a fort. Good. Let them underestimate me. The next morning, I hauled in cedar panels 8 feet tall, stained dark, carved with private property across the top. I added an iron gate with a padlock and a sign. Trespassers will be prosecuted. From the road, it looked like a fortress. From my side, it felt like justice. Linda showed up at 6:42 p.m., her SUV crunching gravel. She rolled down her window, glaring at the fence. "What the hell is this?" "My fence," I said. "On my land. You need HOA approval. This violates code." I stepped closer. "It doesn't." That night, I heard footsteps. Peeking through the blinds, I saw flashlights do figures in hoodies, tools in hand. Linda and Brenda, sneaking like thieves, crowbar and bolt cutters gleaming. "This'll be called trespassing," Brenda whispered. Linda grunted. "Only if we're caught. Remove a few panels, make it look unfinished. I'll say Tom built it illegally." I crept outside, barefoot, clutching my old trail cam. Under the pine where Sarah and I hung wind chimes, I recorded them clear as day, faces lit by their flashlights, vandalizing my fence. Linda yanked a panel, snapping a hinge, cursing. Inside her bag, I later saw papers for pages of fake violations: unauthorized fencing, hostile behavior, obstructing pathways. She was building a paper trail to scare me off. I wasn't scared. I took my evidence to the HOA office on Maple Street, a squat building with peeling paint. Linda sat at the desk, glasses low, smirking. "I see you got our letter," she said. I dropped the envelope. "I see you're still lying." Her eyes narrowed. "That footage is useless without context." I leaned in. "Let's let the community decide. You know Ellen at the Pines Press? She loves context." Her face paled, just a flicker. Linda doubled down, accusing me of creating a hostile environment. But I found a bombshell in the county archives, a rejected 2022 proposal where Linda tried to reclassify my lot as HOA land. The county denied it for lack of consent and conflict of interest. She'd buried it and acted anyway. I sent copies to Ellen at the press and the HOA email list. By noon, the neighborhood was buzzing. Ellen's headline screamed, "HOA president caught in land grab scandal." At 4:32 p.m., Linda pulled into my driveway, all business in a navy suit. "This has gone too far, Tom," she said. "Let's talk." I didn't budge. "You mean you have?" She sighed. "The board will rescind the reallocation. Brenda will leave. You get your land back." "I never lost it," I shot back. She stiffened. "You want this to go legal?" Lawyers aren't cheap. I pointed to the fence where Ellen's article was nailed up. I've got something better. She left without a word. That night, a rumble woke Maya bulldozer, headlights cutting the dark, a work order taped to its grill. HOA emergency demolition, approved by President Carver. I ran out, banging on the cab. Turn it off. This is illegal. The driver, a guy in an orange vest, shrugged. I just got a work order. Says the HOA owns this. I held up my certified deed. This is mine. You'll be in a lawsuit if you touch it. He hesitated, then drove off, muttering about not risking jail. The next morning, the neighborhood showed up dozens of them. Old couples, teens, parents with kids. Ed from Lot 12 brought fence panels, head low. I didn't know what she was doing. Nancy brought nails. Old man George brought coffee. Even Brenda showed up, boxes packed, guilt in her eyes. You were right, she said. Linda lied. I'm leaving. We reinforced the fence, added solar lights, a motion camera, and a new lock. Ellen arrived with a reporter. Linda called an emergency HOA meeting, she said. Claims you're running a militia. I laughed. She's desperate. Then Ellen dropped a bomb. Driveway cam footage showing Linda delivering the bulldozer's work order. This wasn't just bullying, it was criminal. I called the county commissioner. By sunset, Linda was under investigation. Linda's final move was a cease and desist letter, suing me for defamation, demanding $250,000. I stared at the letter, my savings nowhere near that. But I wasn't alone anymore. Ellen ran another story, publishing the bulldozer footage, my land deeds, and the trail cam video. Neighbors left flowers on my porch. Nancy quit the HOA board, posting online. Tom deserves justice. 2 more board members followed. A lawyer, James Holt, appeared at my dock one morning. I read about your case, he said. Linda tried to evict my mom over a fence color. She died from the stress. I'll represent you pro bono. For 2 weeks, we built our case deeds, emails, and recordings. The community rallied, furious at Linda's abuse of power. The arbitration was at the Lakeview Community Center, packed with neighbors and a TV crew. Linda spoke first, painting me as a troublemaker. James stood, calm but lethal. The HOA's records show Linda acted illegally, he said, holding up the county's rejection letter. She intimidated Mr. Davis with threats, police, and lawsuits. That's defamation. The room went silent. Linda left alone. I left to applause. That night, Brenda showed up, trembling. Linda's planning something big, she whispered, playing a recording of Linda plotting to destroy my fence before the court date. She thinks you won't fight back? I called James. Let them come, he said. We'll catch them. At 12:19 a.m., flashlights appeared 5 figures with crowbars and bolt cutters. My cameras caught every move. At 12:24, they started cutting panels. Then floodlights hit, sirens wailed, sheriff's cruisers roared in. Deputies cuffed the crew. Linda stood across the road, pretending innocence, but Brenda stepped forward with her recording. Got it all, she said. Sheriff Daniels detained Linda for questioning. You're not HOA president anymore, he said. 2 days later, in county court, the judge reviewed everything: footage, deeds, recordings. The verdict was swift. Linda paid damages, legal fees, and was banned from the HOA. The HOA faced a county audit. My lake house and fence were ruled outside their jurisdiction forever. Neighbors lined the road, clapping. Ed shook my hand, tears in his eyes. You stood your ground. I finished the fence that weekend, painting it forest green, carving into the front, stand your ground, even if you stand alone. Neighbors brought their kids to see it, some building their fences not out of fear, but pride. Brenda stopped by before leaving. I never knew people like you existed, she said. I did it for Sarah, I told her, and for anyone pushed around by power. The lake is calm now, the air clean, the wind chimes dancing like nothing happened. But something did. Bullies don't always swing fists, sometimes they hide behind rules and smiles. Linda lost her reputation, her power, everything. I got my peace back. Every time someone reads that carved message, I hope they remember, you don't need power to stand tall, just courage. What do you think? Have you ever faced a bully like Linda, hiding behind authority to push people around? Or maybe you've seen injustice in your community HOA or otherwise. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should we always fight back, even when it feels impossible. Share your story, take a stand, and let's keep this conversation going.